Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back to the Sunday recap, my weekly vlog where I talk a bit about my last week in games. And for this week I really only played EVE Online. I mean, I touched on Skyrim on a couple of evenings, but I really did nothing of consequence. So let's get started in EVE Online. The war ended, which meant that I could go out there and fly a little bit more without having to keep a very close eye on local, make sure there's no war targets, or without having to also try to hunt maybe some of the war targets, which I didn't end up doing. All of a sudden there was a surrender offer for 0 ISK. I took it, and now we're back to regular high-sec Care Bear stuff. So at first just a little bit of exploration, running some anomalies as well. We were still in the daily challenge where you just had to get rid of a couple of NPCs, get some extra skill points, so that is something that I do keep up with. Second part of the week we came into the celebrations for the Galente Federation, and yeah, there you just have to do a little bit of traveling in a ship with some fireworks and find the parades there, fireworks at the Titan, and there you go, you get some extra skill points for that as well. I think I've done all of them so far, we'll see if I can keep up with it. But something that's also a little bit different is while I was flying in Galente space, I took a trip back to Jita at the end of every evening, just to keep an eye on my holdings and to look for other opportunities to do more station trading there. Actually surprisingly fun to do and also quite profitable so far. I actually have a couple of pretty successful trades, no losses. That just means that I have to hold a little bit longer on some of the other things. And one thing that I noticed is I was rushing it a little bit. I was sort of always wanting to find another buy opportunity, which also meant that a couple of them so far have been early, right? I bought at a certain price point and it actually continued to decline. I still think I can get a profit out of all of the trades I've got so far, but this is another lesson learned, and I do think I want to try to, as much as possible, have a daily look at Jita opportunities, and also of course seeing if my holdings yield any profits, and then pulling the trigger at the right time. That's pretty important. But yeah, definitely an interesting and so far quite fun way of playing EVE Online, and something that I'm trying to incorporate in my daily routines at this point. Very difficult to do when you go back to a Mars space. I had to do that as well for the BPCs yet again. I mean, that's just straight up sales for a little bit of time. Passive income is still rolling quite nicely in a Mars space, so we're doing that. BPCs there, PIs there as well. Maybe I'll switch that up at some point because the taxes are quite high, but yeah, at the moment that is still the setup, and so every 10ish days or so quick jump clone to a Mars space always makes sense to do that. And after that I also did a little bit of mining again. With the OrCAD first, right, trying to get back into the groove of mining, and then I actually found a place where I can do some compression for free anyways, so I can still do that. Now, I'm not going to focus on that activity at the moment. You may have noticed it from EVE Talk as well. Minerals are definitely under pressure unless you go out to low sec. I think there, yeah, if you can find Noxium, that's probably the best deal at this point. But for high sec, it's clearly not super valuable, so I'm still doing the same thing, compressing that, bring it to a trade hub, have it ready for later down the line. But at the moment we're basically being hit by a double decline in demand. First of all, we have the industry changes, which meant a big rush on all of the big stuff in April. I mean, they probably overshot and made massive reserves of battleships, capital ships, almost everything, which meant a very big drop in demand. Of course, they are the biggest items, so they take most minerals. And next up we of course have the summer slump, which I think may become a rather large summer slump, since we are in real life of course in quite a unique situation with the economy reopening, people getting the chance, for instance here in Belgium, to take holiday trips for the first time in 1.5 years. So I do think that there's a lot of people that are looking to do that sort of activity, which is going to have an impact on how many players play EVE Online actively over this summer. It could just, I think, be you know, the extra big summer slump this time, which would not be a big surprise, I guess. And then after that, what I still went out to do as well were these expeditions in Galente space. So very, very interesting in my opinion. Soloable in a venture, not the most effective, but definitely something that, you know, is a little bit different from what I usually do. There's like this tiny little bit of risk involved, or at least there's this, at first it's risk, right, while you explore explore the site for the first time, and then you try to basically find ships or fleets and groups as well that can handle that type of content as you get into the harder and harder stuff. You need to pay a little bit of attention. This is definitely not the same thing as mining in your Orca, where you just sit there. You can have a second screen, just keep one eye on what's happening, the overview, and you're fine. Here, right, those diamond rats, if they focus you down a little bit, my little venture does melt very quickly, but a little bit more active playstyle, and reward wise it's not bad for a solo player. That 1.5 million is pretty good. Get some LP there as well, and in fact I encountered a couple of players that were running those sites as well, tagged along for some of the easier sites when we were with 3, and we managed to get the highest reward pretty easily and consistently as we chained a couple of them. That ended a little bit prematurely. I was planning to do a little bit more of that, but then CCP also came out with a mass test, so we jumped in. Really a rather surprise mass test, you could say. I think it was mentioned that there was a little bit of a problem with the internal communication when it comes to this mass test, but all of a sudden I was pinged on TQ. Hey guys, there's a mass test in 10 minutes if you want. So I jumped over, took part in it, and at least this one, it feels like it's pretty much patch ready. I think that the mechanic for the Black Ops battleships is working as intended, and then I actually got to use the chain lightning, the photon projector in the PvP setting as well. Very, very interesting little test there, taking care of some drone sets of some of those Dominixes and bigger battleships and things like that. Just wiping them out in a couple of shots is pretty interesting. I do think that with the 10 bounces, these will become a lot more popular, and I'm in fact training my skills towards these Edencom ships, because doubling the amount of bounces is doubling the DPS, especially in PvP. This could become pretty damn crazy, but yeah, looks like that's what's coming, and I'm eagerly awaiting any more development news for EVE Online. But at the same time, right, better weather, I'm definitely also planning to enjoy my free time as well, not necessarily pour everything into games and EVE Online. But there you go, that's my update for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.